assembled a panel that will be able to help us address some of those issues and give you some of their perspective and ideas as it relates to those things. So I'd like to introduce to you, and each one of them will go into more detail and tell you a little bit about their journey and how they came to be as part of the cyber workforce and some of the mission space and mission areas that they're working on now. So I'd like to introduce to you Mr. Douglas Maughan, who is the Director of Cybersecurity Division with the DHS S&T Directorate. Mr. Farrar-Foley, who is here with IDA, who's an adjunct staff member and CTO for NAWAH Investments. Stephen Olechnowicz, Stephen O, who is an IDA researcher for cyber workforce issues for the DoD CIO. And Mr. Knake, who is a senior fellow at Council on Foreign Relations. So with that being said, we'll begin to move down our panel, and you'll begin to hear a little bit again about some of their thoughts, some of the areas that they have, and a little bit about their journey and their mission space. And then we'll go into a few questions. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Douglas Maughan. I'm with the Department of Homeland Security, Science and Technology. I've been there almost 12 years, almost from the beginning of the department, managing the cybersecurity research and development portfolio. Part of that portfolio includes an education piece. So we manage the National Collegiate Cyber Defense Competition every year. It's about $1 million investment. This last year we had over 200 schools nationwide participating in the NCCDC. We also fund, during the summer times, high school cyber camps. We did, I think, 8 this summer, and continuing to grow that program. So in addition to all the research that we fund, very focused in trying to help out on the education, and I'm the DHS lead on the National Initiative for Cybersecurity Education.
I'm Steve O, and I'm a researcher here at IDA, but prior to that I was in the United States Navy as a submarine officer and had a great, fantastic time there. My last 4 years in the federal government was spent on the staff of the Office of Secretary of Defense. And that was, like I say, about 15 years ago, and that's when information assurance was just beginning to grow, and it's now known as cybersecurity. But if you go back 15 years, there was probably only a handful of people who knew about or were concerned about information assurance. So at that point, when I was helping out OSD on there, I got the sense that, hey, this is something that's going to be growing, important for the nation, and very dynamic. And I can say 15 years later, it's still growing, very important for the nation, and still dynamic. Probably not in the ways we want it to be dynamic, but it's very dynamic. And it's making life for cybersecurity people very tough, and therefore tough on the nation. So Department of Homeland Security, Department of Defense will have very similar missions. Department of Homeland Security looks inward at the critical infrastructure of the nation and other companies. The DoD looks at its critical infrastructure global-wise, and it is very similar in the challenges. So as we said in the opening remarks, the attackers are probably outpacing in technology and capability what the defenders can have. Regulations are in place that sort of preclude or restrain the government from getting the right defenders, the right skill sets to go there. As an example, 2 years ago, there was a study. Congress said, okay, how many cyber people are in there in the DoD? So it'd be nice, you would think in modern age, we press that button and we get the answer right away from all the databases. 6 months later, through a manual aggregation of 24 different databases and 25 different agencies, we had a guess in the DoD of what that was. And so it was about 77,000 civilians, 144,000 military, and a big guess at 65,000 contractors who were supporting the DoD in cyber-specific billets. So it became a primary issue for the DoD CIO to say, we need to find out who we have in the cybersecurity area. And so that's been a big part of the life here for the last 5 years, I'll say, on doing that. My focus is, for the DoD CIO, I do several things for them. Cyber workforce is one of them. But I have an interest in making sure the cyber workforce has the capability it needs to do the job, even if you're outnumbered and outpaced. So we got to make sure that the worker defenders can use the technology that's coming down versus being confounded by it, and that they are able to do their jobs with skill. So that's my focus.
Hi, Rob Knake, Council on Foreign Relations. I spent about 4 years at the White House doing cybersecurity policy at the National Security Council. some time before that at the Department of Homeland Security in the National Protection and Programs Directorate, one of the 5 major directorates at DHS, and the one that's got the cyber mission. Let me tell a little story that I think illustrates the problem we're grappling with today and may hint at a solution. When I was at DHS, I was working in the Undersecretary's front office, and his special assistant, young guy, smart guy, came to me and said, hey, you work in cyber. I'm really interested in that. I'd like to do that. He had no background in it. He had a BA in mathematics. He was smart. He was hardworking. I said, all right. So I called up a friend who ran what is called the National Cybersecurity and Communications Integration Center at DHS. It's the floor where all the cyber operations team at DHS work. And I said, Larry, hey, I got this guy. He's really smart. He wants to come work in cyber. Larry said, great, send him over. They looked at him. He was tall, he was handsome, he was well-spoken. They put him in comms. So he did comms. And he became the spokesperson for the NCIC, and he went and he briefed Congress, and he got to talk about cybersecurity. And he called me up a couple months later, and he said, so I actually wanted to do cybersecurity, not to talk about it. Any ideas? And I said, all right, let me make another phone call. So I called the head of the US CERT, which is the operational team. And I said, Ann, got this guy, Matt. He's really smart, he's got a BA in math. Can you use him? Can you train him as an analyst? She was like, he has no experience. I was like, but he'll learn. I said, okay, I'll teach him to do log analysis. So she sat him in a chair next to somebody so he would do no harm, and she taught him how to do log analysis. So he was one of the analysts on the Einstein system, which is what looks at all federal traffic for cyber threats. And they taught him one skill at a time, how to do the things he needed to do in that job. And then they made him study books at night and take online courses. And they sent him to the Naval War College. And in 18 months, he was leading incident response teams for US CERT at federal agencies that had been breached. It was an incredible story. And so we took this and we said, Ann, this is great. Let's nominate him for the Federal Computer Weekly Rising Star Award. And so we wrote up everything about Matt and how great he was. And they called us back a couple months later and said, we think he's great. In fact, he is the rising star. He's going to be featured front page of Federal Computer Weekly. Really exciting, I know. But these kinds of things, it's as much as you can do. And so we said, great. And then they called back from the reporter. He said, yeah, I just emailed Matt. He left the Department of Homeland Security and went to work for Mandiant. This is the problem with cyber workforce. The government trains and then people leave. There may be a solution in it. We have a former submariner here. What the Navy would do, right, is they would say, okay, we're gonna train you as a submariner. You're gonna learn nuclear propulsion, and then we're gonna send you out to operate submarines or aircraft carriers. And then you may decide after you've completed your commitment that you're gonna go and work for a nuclear power plant in the private sector. Do the same thing for pilots in commercial aviation. So that may be a model by which the federal government might be able to create more mats and actually keep them for a period of time before sending them out to do the Lord's work in Mandiant or FireEye or whoever else will hire them away. I'll put that out as my opening salvo.
So Brendan Foley, I'm here at IDA and at NAWAH Investments, which is a private equity firm in the Middle East focused on large-scale infrastructure investments. I'm going to go ahead and disagree a bit with Rob and actually bring up another point I hope to address more, which is that we aren't losing those people from government. Those people are actually very supportive of the government mission in many circumstances. So I actually had a friend of mine in grad school who was a former, now former NSA guy, trying to build software products to detect what he used to do and sell it to the government. And I would argue that we have not lost him at all. We've in fact let him go out on his own to go solve a problem he wasn't ever ready to do before, and we now benefit from those results. So my background, before IDA, I was at USAID in the Inspector General's office doing the IT operations. So we had a network / security / web development / everything else team of about 6 or 8 people running 9 offices around the world. I came here after about 2 years. I got into USAID because I had actually been part of the government Cyber Corps program, which is an NSA and NSF funded program to help generate interest in cyber. So I had a very nice scholarship from them, which required 2 years of government service afterwards. After a little bit more than 2 years, I came to IDA, where I got to look more at the strategy side of these things for a much larger organization, and do a whole range of things, including a lot of work on the supply chain side of how we get our IT technology, hardware and software. We are actually currently working on things on the strategy of how do you address things like endpoint and network security problems, given some recent things you may have seen in the news. After I was here for about 4.5 years, I went to NAWAH, where I am the Chief Technology Officer and get to now hire people to fill all of these roles that I've had and told people they should have. NAWAH is fairly unique in that we outsource 100% of our IT to qualified people, either to cloud-based things or to managed hosting or to individuals that perform various tasks and capabilities for us. So I'm our only full-time IT staff. And it's been fascinating growing a company from, I was around the 10th to 12th employee to, we've got a few over 100 now, just as we've expanded over the last 2.5 years.